Welcome to Shonia Studio. In this playlist you can watch crime stories from all over the world, where apart from gaining knowledge about crime stories in other parts of the world, it can also provide knowledge about, for example, the culture and habits of the people in that country. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel if you like our video. Thank you. Shonia Studio is a channel of crime stories from around the world. Please you like and subscribe this channel if you like our criminal stories. Thank you. Every human being is born with a conscience. Help each other. Try to help each other to those who are in need and also in trouble. Because we hope that the kindness we give will one day be repaid, if we are in a difficult position too. There are many who are able to help, even though they are not in excess. Give sincerely even though you are in a disadvantaged position. This is something that rarely happens. But what happens if it turns out that there are people who are in need, such as homeless people who don't have a house, but are still able and willing to give each other to people who need help? This time I want to discuss a homeless person's act of kindness to a woman. Then one day the homeless person was paid something very valuable back. But it turns out there is a purpose behind it. Before we continue, support this channel by pressing the subscribe button and also turning on the notifications, so that next time, for example, if I upload a new video about conspiracy, mystery, crime and horror, you will be the first to know. She is a young and beautiful woman, whose name is Katelyn McClure. She is 29 years old and has a job that is not permanent. Sometimes she takes part in a traveling exhibition, sometimes she takes part in an automotive bazaar, or a book expo event at the mall. She does it all. So it's a kind of freelance, contract work that doesn't last long. And it is said that Katelyn is a good and fun girl. However, according to information, she has a bad relationship with her mother. It's not suitable if they meet, because they both like to argue about anything. The default is that every time she meets her mother, Katelyn will always be angry and fight all the time. Their zodiac signs don't match. This is what then forces Katelyn not to live at home. She lives at her boyfriend's place, a widower named Mark D'Amico, who is 40 years old. Mark D'Amico is a man who has been married. He dated Katelyn for quite a long time, almost 4 years. This is what actually makes Katelyn's mother disapprove of their relationship. They are both old enough to get married, but it seems like Mark D'Amico just wants to play around and have fun. They've been dating for 4 years. No time to get married. Moreover, there are rumors that Mark D'Amico really likes gambling. The more Katelyn's mother doesn't like it. But still, Katelyn and Mark live together in Mark D'Amico's apartment in Philadelphia, United States. In the evening of November 13, 2017, Katelyn had just finished a shift at work, in her hometown of Burlington. She forced herself to go home that night to Mark D'Amico's house in Philadelphia, because she said there was an event the next morning. So Katelyn left around 12 o'clock. Finally she drove in the middle of the night, and it turned out she ran out of gas. Then she thought she would stop if she found the nearest gas station. But unfortunately the car suddenly stopped because it ran out of fuel, before it met the gas station on the intercity the route. So around kilometer 95 towards Philadelphia. Katelyn actually saw road markings, road signs indicating that the nearest gas station was approximately 1 kilometer away. But another problem, Katelyn appeared to have forgotten his wallet, at the exhibition where she was working this afternoon. Then she said she tried calling Mark D'Amico but he didn't pick up, even though she had tried dozens of calls. In desperation, Katelyn cried, as she said she tried to stop several passing cars to ask for help. Unfortunately, no one wanted to stop in the middle of the night. And where did it come from? Suddenly a man appeared wearing a red jacket with a head covering. He introduced himself, with the name Johnny Bobbitt. Katelyn was scared at first. But Bobbitt looks pretty good. Bobbitt said that he was a veteran of the war in Iraq, then he lost his family and his home. Long story short, he offered Katelyn $20 to buy petrol. That's all he said was the money he had, but it didn't matter because he felt sorry for Katelyn. Katelyn, who was initially afraid, finally accepted the money from Bobbitt. Even better, Bobbitt was said to have walked alone, 1 kilometer to the gas station, and Katelyn was waiting in her car. Then Bobbitt returned to Katelyn's car carrying a jug of petrol. Katelyn thanked him and promised to come back to pay Bobbitt's $20. But Bobbitt said no need, it was okay until 2 days later Katelyn came back to that place with her boyfriend Mark D'Amico to meet John Bobbitt. Talked a little with Bobbitt and finally Katelyn was touched. Katelyn then opened a fundraising action on the Gofundme website. So Gofundme is a fundraising site for homeless people in the community. Shonia Studio is a channel of crime stories from around the world. Please you like and subscribe this channel if you like our criminal stories. Thank you. This touching story of Johnny Bobbitt was shared by Katelyn on the Gofundme page. He said, "He is a war veteran who defended our country. He had no place to live, he had been abandoned by his family. Quite sad." So the Gofundme page's goal is to raise $10,000 to help Bobbitt rent an apartment. And also a car that will help him work to earn money. It turns out that many people were touched by this Bobbitt story. Until donations were collected from netizens all over the world. The figure is $400,000, a quite fantastic figure. This figure was collected in just 4 to 5 months. Until finally it was said that in July 2018 Johnny Bobbitt, the homeless man, had received his money. This Bobbitt is a smart guy. It turned out that he later found out that the aid funds he received were only $85,000 or around 20% of the funds collected. Apart from that, there are no apartments and cars promised by Katelyn and her boyfriend, Mark, except for a small van, a mini trailer, and even then they can only be parked in the yard of Katelyn and Mark's apartment. They are not allowed to go anywhere. With this suspicion, the $85,000 that Bobbitt had obtained was used to hire a lawyer. He made the claim because it turned out that Katelyn and Mark used the aid funds collected for their personal interests, not for Johnny Bobbitt. He said Katelyn and Mark bought a new BMW, went on a trip to Disneyland, bought expensive watches, gadgets, expensive bags and all the jewelry from the fundraiser. Although in the end Katelyn and Mark said it wasn't true. They said they bought cars and all the luxury items using their own money. So this case went viral in 2018. Until officially in August 2018 an examination was carried out regarding the assets and income received from Katelyn and Mark D'Amico. If you have watched Katelyn and Mark, who were guest stars everywhere, they stated that they didn't use Bobbitt's Gofundme funds. Although from the interviews conducted by most of Katelyn and Mark, they seemed afraid that their voices were shaking as if they were lying. Until finally in October 2018 Mark and Katelyn were caught embezzling aid funds. and charged with fraud. I also don't understand the details of the crime, but it said that they were both found to have violated 16 points in the fraud article, and this could result in them being imprisoned for 260 years. This made Katelyn and Mark cry uncontrollably, and admitted their mistake, and promised to return all the funds. Until finally in November 2018 they were both sentenced to only 33 months in prison. Does the story end there? Certainly not. They then said they reported back to Shonia Bobbitt on the same accusation of fraudulent Gofundme funds. Because it turns out that the mastermind behind all of this case is Shonia Bobbitt. It's true that Shonia Bobbitt is homeless, but not a war veteran. He is a drug addict, and also a big gambler at several large casinos. He lost his house and children because he liked gambling and drugs. Until finally he had the idea of creating a fundraising fraud on Gofundme. After seeing the web advertisement on the internet, after several months of police investigation, it is known that Shonia Bobbitt recruited Katelyn and Mark D'Amico to take part in her plan. Remember that this Bobbitt is a very smart person. In fact, Katelyn and Mark D'Amico are people who are less intelligent, people who are afraid and also obedient. It turns out that the three of them are also gambling enthusiasts who both met at the casino. And all the drama of helping Katelyn, by giving him petrol when his car broke down, was just a lie. Shonia Bobbitt planned it all. Bobbitt even created an account for Katelyn on Gofundme. Because in the end the identity card and Katelyn account were registered. They promised, actually Bobbitt would get 50% of the Gofundme aid funds and Mark 25% each. Then Katelyn and Mark became betrayed and intended to leave Bobbitt. However, it turns out that Bobbitt succeeded in making demands and imprisoning Katelyn and Mark D'Amico. But the two of them did not remain silent, and dared to fight. Until finally, in early 2019, Shonia Bobbitt was charged with aid fund fraud and jailed for 30 months. However, the doctor who treated Bobbitt said that Bobbitt was a serious drug addict. Until the judge moved him from prison to a rehabilitation center. And what is certain is that the three of them are said to be obliged to return all the money resulting from misappropriation of aid funds on the Gofundme website, or additional punishment will be carried out against them. But how are you going to make money, if they end up in prison, right? Indeed, in this virtual world, it is very difficult to believe that there is fake love. Fake people, even after Gofundme, can get caught in fraud scandals. What do you think? Should the three of them be imprisoned for decades? Or maybe 12 years is appropriate? Considering the error isn't too serious. Or if you have another opinion, comment below. If you like this video, don't forget to click like, and also the share button, for those who are stopping by for the first time, or have stopped by often but haven't subscribed. Don't forget to click the subscribe button first, and also turn on the notification. So next time, for example, I will upload the latest video, you will be the first to know. Don't forget to watch all my other videos. Stay healthy and do good. Thank you.